Something unusual is happening in the Ottawa real estate market right now. Sales are down, inventory is rising, and buyers are taking longer to make decisions. And yet, prices have not collapsed. So, what's actually going on right now? Today, we are going to be breaking down the February 2026 Ottawa real estate numbers, what buyers and sellers are really doing right now, and why this spring market might surprise a lot of people. So let's be honest for a second. If you've been reading the headlines about the Ottawa real estate market lately, you might be thinking something like, is the market totally dead right now? Are prices about to drop? Did I miss the best time to sell? And honestly, I understand 100% why people feel that way. Because when you watch the news or scroll through social media, you're seeing a lot of dramatic headlines. One article says sales are slowing down. Another one says buyers are all waiting. Someone else is predicting a correction. And if you're a homeowner thinking about selling, that can feel a little bit unsettling. And if you're a buyer right now, you might be thinking the opposite. Maybe you're wondering, is now the time to wait for prices to drop even further? So today, I want to do something a little bit different. Instead of just reading the headlines, we're going to dig into the actual numbers from the Ottawa Real Estate Board for this month, February 2026. And we are going to talk about what they really mean. Because here's the thing, the headline numbers only tell about half the story. And when you actually look under the surface, the Ottawa market right now is doing something very interesting. It's not crashing, it's not overheating, it's transitioning. And if you're planning to buy or sell this year, understanding that transition could make a huge difference for your strategy. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and we are going to dive deep into all of what these numbers mean. Let's dive right in. So let's talk about what people are thinking and the market reality. Before we even talk about numbers, we need to talk about the mindset, because the biggest thing shaping the Ottawa market right now isn't prices or interest rates. It's how people feel about the market. Right now, there's a lot of hesitation out there. Buyers are cautious, sellers are a little bit unsure, and both sides are trying to figure out whether they should move now or just sit and wait. When we look at the numbers from February, we can see that hesitation very clearly. In February, there were only 780 residential properties that were sold in Ottawa. That is a 6.8% drop from February of last year. And it's also a 21.2% below the 5-year average for this month, the month of February. Now, when people hear these numbers, they often jump straight to panic mode. Sellers hear that and they think nobody's buying houses anymore. Then buyers hear it and think, perfect, prices must be crashing. But here's where the real story begins, because demand has not disappeared, not even close. In fact, when we look at showings, online traffic, and buyer inquiries, there are still a lot of active buyers in the market. So, what's actually happening? Buyers are simply taking their time. And that's a very big shift from the markets we experienced a few years ago. Remember that frenzy during the pandemic? Homes were selling in 3 days or sometimes even within 24 hours. We were getting 10 offers. Buyers were going in with firm offers, no conditions. People making decisions in 24 hours because they felt they had no other choice. Well, that environment is gone. Today's buyers are slower and they're a lot more thoughtful. They're looking at multiple homes. They're comparing neighborhoods, they're negotiating. And honestly, that is what a normal, healthy market looks like. There's no rush, there's no panic. People are just making careful decisions. And that slower pace is exactly why the market feels quieter this winter. But quieter does not mean broken, it just means balanced. All right, let's start by looking at single family homes because this is still the largest segment of the Ottawa real estate market. In February, we saw 358 single family homes sell. That's about a 10.9% decrease compared to last year. So again, sales activity is a bit slower. But here is the key detail that a lot of people are missing. Prices have actually remained relatively stable. We're not seeing dramatic price drops. What we're seeing is longer selling timelines. Homes might take a few extra weeks to sell. Buyers might negotiate a little bit more, but overall, the single family segment has held up very well. And that actually makes sense when you think about Ottawa as a city. Ottawa has one of the most stable real estate markets in all of Canada. We have a large public sector workforce, a strong tech sector, universities, and many government jobs. And all of that creates a relatively stable housing demand. So when the market slows down here, it usually slows down gradually rather than collapsing. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Detached homes are still selling. They're just selling in a bit more of a balanced environment. The townhomes, the surprise segment. Now let's talk about the real surprise for the February numbers, those townhouses. Townhomes actually had the highest level of activity of any segment in the entire city. We saw 280 townhome sales in February. That is a very strong number for the middle of winter. And there's a reason for that. Townhomes sit in a very interesting price range. They're often the entry point for buyers who want more space than a condo, but can't quite stretch to a detached home. And right now, affordability is still a major factor for buyers. Interest rates are lower than they were about a year ago, but they're still higher than the ultra low rates we saw during the pandemic. So buyers are looking for that sweet spot, and townhomes often provide exactly that. Now, here is the interesting part. Even though townhomes are selling well, inventory has been rising in this segment. And when supply rises faster than demand, something important happens. Buyers gain the negotiating power all over again. Which means if you are a first-time home buyer right now, the townhome market is actually a very interesting place to be. You have more choices, you have more time, and sometimes even the ability to negotiate the price and conditions. That is something we didn't see much of a few years ago. Now let's talk about the condo and apartment segment, because this part of the market has been quietly evolving over the past year. Since late 2025, the condo market has been dealing with elevated supply. In simple terms, there were more condos for sale than buyers ready to purchase them. That created a longer selling timeline and a bit of a downward pressure on prices. But February showed us something very interesting. Average condo apartment prices actually rose month over month. And at the same time, the amount of available inventory started to ease slightly. Now, this might seem like a very small change, but it can be a very important early signal. When inventory starts to shrink and prices start to stabilize, it usually means that buyers are beginning to absorb the available supply. In other words, condos may be starting to find their floor. And if that trend continues into the spring market, we could see more stability in the condo segment moving forward. So, what does this all mean for the Ottawa real estate market moving forward? Here's where things start to get interesting. Remember earlier when I mentioned that 780 homes were sold in February? That might sound very low, but it's actually a significant increase from January when we only saw about 610 transactions. That means that the activity is already starting to pick up as we move towards spring. And historically, Ottawa's real estate market tends to accelerate very quickly between March and May. Now let's zoom out even further. The Canadian Real Estate Association, also known as CREA, recently released their national outlook for 2026. And their expectation is that demand will gradually strengthen as borrowing costs continue to improve. That outlook lines up very closely with what we're seeing here in Ottawa. Buyers are still cautious, but they're slowly becoming more confident. And once confidence starts to build, activity usually follows. So, why do we think that spring 2026 could be very interesting? Now, here is the interesting and exciting part. Right now, Ottawa has a healthy level of inventory, not too little and not too much. And that balance creates a very interesting environment for the spring market. Because if buyer activity increases while inventory remains stable, we could see a market that becomes more active without creating extreme price spikes. And that's actually the perfect and ideal scenario. Buyers have choices, sellers have motivated buyers, and the market moves forward in a very stable way, which honestly is exactly what Ottawa has historically done best. So if you take one thing away from this update, let it be this. The Ottawa real estate market is not stalled. It's transitioning. Buyers are taking more time, sellers are adjusting their expectations, and the inventory is balancing out. The momentum is slowly building as we move towards the spring market. That combination actually creates a lot of opportunity for people who are prepared. So don't let the headlines scare you. The Ottawa housing market is stable, evolving, and full of opportunity if you understand how to navigate it. Now, I'm curious, are you planning to buy or sell in 2026? Or are you still waiting to see what happens with our real estate market? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious to see where Ottawa stands. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it helpful, feel free to share it, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more straight talk on real estate. I will see you in the next video, but in the meantime, if you have any questions about the real estate market in your area, your neighborhood, make sure to give me a quick call, or you can always email me at jeanricher@jeanricher.com. Merci beaucoup et bonne journée.